Hey everyone, DFA here, welcome back to the channel. And yeah, this month in the Blitz Pass, pretty big surprise, there is a tier 8 German premium cruiser. Called the Schill, and yeah, it's actually pretty brave from Wargaming because you're taking a look at another tier 8 German premium cruiser, the Mainz, and one of the best ones in the game. So introducing a direct competitor to the Mainz might seem like a very strange idea. So let's take a look at these two ships, see how they differ. So one gameplay for each, and then first let's start with the statistics and the subscribe button because we've already managed to hit our highland this week. And here we have it between the Mainz, the Prince Eugen, and a couple of other ships. Immediately you notice it's kind of a similar skill set as the Mainz, sorry, except you get rapid reload 2 instead of reload 1, so pretty similar. The size pretty much the same, hit points a little, it's actually quite good, 38,000 instead of the 34,000 of Mainz and Prince Eugen, so that's a very survivable ship, and the protection it's a lot better than what the stats are telling you, it's a lot more survivable than the Mainz, that's pretty clear, we'll see that in the gameplays. Concealment not great, top speed less than 32 knots, that's really bad. It means that most of the tier 8 CVs will be able to run away from you, so yeah, that's not great. Maneuverability, it's worse than the Mainz as well, and pretty, yeah, it's on the lower end of tier 8 cruisers. The guns, so we're getting kind of Graf Spee guns at tier 8, they reload in 10 seconds, the range is pretty good at 12 kilometers, a little bit better than Mainz and Prince Eugen. The HE DPM, it's one of the worst at the tier, only the Cherbourg is doing worse, so it's very German, it's not an HE ship, the fire chance is garbage, yeah, it's really not great, and keep in mind it's a volley of only 6 guns, so even when you're hitting DDs, you're not really slapping them like a Black Chapaille for example, or even a Mainz. Yeah, DFA, but the guns are super accurate. Well, guess what, the Mainz is also one of the most accurate ships in the game. The Schill makes up for that in the AP department. AP damage 1200, that's actually pretty high, almost as high as the Cherbourg, and it's 305 millimeter guns for a pretty decent DPM, 43,000 for a ship that has a rapid reload 2 mod, so that's actually not bad. Of course, it's nowhere near the Mainz, and it's close to 60,000 damage, but those are 15 centimeter guns, so it might be a little bit more tricky to apply in certain circumstances. So still the DPM a little bit on the lower end of things, but you get the rapid reload to compensate for that. You do get secondaries. 6 15 centimeter guns, they're actually dealing less damage than the Graf Spee, so it's only 500 per shell this time, and of course it's only happy, no fires. You're getting auto secondaries as well, but with a range of 4.83 kilometers, yeah, you're not going to be doing a lot of damage with them. And you're also getting the same German crappy torpedoes, except unlike the Mainz, you're only getting 4 per broadside, so the same range, 5.4 kilometers, speed is a little bit higher, but yeah, only 13,000 damage, so you're not going to hurt too many ships, unlike the Mainz or the Prince Eugen if you manage to catch them off guard. And yeah, the Japanese cruisers are still king at that level. And then finally the AA, it's marginally better than the Mainz and a little bit more AA range, but still this is not an AA ship, sorry. And we are starting with the Schill, so it's not going to be a full duration gameplay, it's more about showing you the differences between the two ships, and you see that the matchmaking it's actually pretty good for us for a heavy cruiser with 3 cruisers on the enemy team, those are our intended targets, and only 1 destroyer. So it's a tier 8 game, we do have tier 7 CVs in the list, and so as always we want to be careful, we want to, I mean it's not it's just like other typical heavy cruiser, do not rush into cap areas, be careful, wait until you know more about the enemy CV's intentions, wait until you know where the enemy DD is actually going, and yeah, essentially you tend to prefer range engagements with that thing than going up close and personal. Yeah, but it does have secondaries, etc. Yeah, it actually does have secondaries. But yeah, they're not going to scare too many DDs, to be honest. And we did request that Wargaming gave it secondaries overload after the pre-test, but yeah, the request was not granted. So you're kind of stuck with your 6 big fat guns and your secondaries with a range of 6 or 7 kilometers, something like that. So yeah. Concretely, so the Schill, it's your typical heavy cruiser, it's a force multiplier, so you kinda have to not be the first in line, play support until you see opportunities to get a little bit closer. That Gneisono, it's a pretty good target for us. You see that it's pretty easy to be hitting the weak spots of the armor. We get rapid reload, so when we really get those nice engagements, we can actually make them count, and you see that, yeah, it's from that perspective, it's actually pretty good. It's a really good support ship. We're having a lot more success with the main guns that we do with the secondaries, unfortunately, but yeah, that nice one is going to go down very quickly. And so yeah, this is kind of our preferred situation with the Schill. If you have an enemy ship that's making a mistake overextending like this one is, if you can take care of the enemy battleships as a priority, there we go, this one should go down. Now we're left with the enemy cruisers to deal with, and yeah, and that's actually pretty good for us. What we are totally not good at is dealing with destroyers, and that Benson is actually coming a little bit too close for comfort. So we do have our sonar to keep us safe. But yeah, if you look at it, so yeah, we do have the secondary, so if you are a DD player, do not come too close to that thing, but the main guns, typically, they will overpen most of the time, and it's only a 6-gun volley, so you're not going to be dealing massive amounts of damage to those destroyers, unless they are coming a little bit too close to you. So you do prefer that kind of scenarios where you have a Chapayev that's coming and graciously gifting us with its hit points, activate rapid reload, and that's where you can punish him. So the Schill is certainly accurate enough. The guns hit very hard on other cruisers. They can actually do quite a good job against enemy battleships, but you don't really have an incentive to get too close to other targets. It's more of a support long-range ship. It's a very typical heavy cruiser with regards to that. So the Benson gets taken out, and we're actually doing quite well. Now we have the 2 Chappies and Atlanta to be dealing with, and those are kind of our preferred targets. So yeah, we can play the range game absolutely no problem with only 6 guns. You see that we are plenty accurate, and we can slap those ships for a reasonable amount of damage. Unfortunately, you see, I was not really paying attention to the minimap. I got isolated, and by the way, you see that we're taking quite a bit of damage. It's not like the Mainz. This one can actually take a little bit of punishment, but yeah, there is one category of ships that it really does not like, and that's CVs. Oops. It's not going great, triple fire already, and yeah, it's very German with regards to that, so yeah, you kinda have to watch out, because it's a little bit more forgiving than the other, but yeah. Yeah. I leave it at that. Thank you, CV. So this one's on me. Let's take a look at the Mainz now. And here it is, the original bad boys of tier 8 heavy cruisers. Well, heavy cruisers by name only, because that thing has 15 cm guns, but to be honest, it plays more like a heavy cruiser, it moves more like a heavy cruiser than a light cruiser, and that's why you see me being extremely careful at the beginning of that battle, because just look at the... I'm asking the easy behind me to send these fucking planes to scout, Jesus Christ. Because yeah, there you go. Because yeah, if you get caught out of position with that thing, you're going to suffer a lot, and there is a DD that can actually detect me on the enemy team, and sure enough, that is what he probably does. I'm not sure if it was the Schill or the DD. The DD has not been spotted yet, so it probably was the DD, but immediately we turn around and we disengage, because yeah, the Mainz, it's really not a front-line cruiser. You really have to watch out. In protection, it's not really the same as the Schill, but yeah, the accuracy, it's absolutely amazing. It's one of the big strengths of that thing. So you play second line as well, it has a typical heavy cruiser play style. I would say that, yeah, you see, I mean, at that range, absolutely not a problem putting damage into that Nagato. There you go, we managed to get 9 shells out of 10, and let's see if we can actually put a couple into that Skone. So yeah, that's probably one of the greatest advantages of the Mainz. It's its ability to be dealing with quite a lot of targets, to be honest. Light cruisers, heavy cruisers, battleships, absolutely fine. The 15 cm guns will do the job. Yeah, you see 11 hits on that Schill at 10 km, so that's absolutely beautiful. I mean, honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one of the two is accurate, but what I can tell you is that the Mainz, it's a little bit more tricky to play. You see, I made one positioning mistake there. I actually cannot turn because that fucking easy again is preventing me to do so, and I got slapped in the face by the battleships in front. And yeah, that typically with the Mainz, that's pretty unforgiving. So that Amagi, it's really focusing me. He doesn't seem to like me a lot. So yeah, that's certainly one difference between the two ships, and yeah, with the Mainz, if you get singled out by battleships, you're gonna be spending a really bad time. What the Mainz can do that the Schill wishes it could do is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to disengage because number one, I'm a little bit faster, but also I'm absolutely not afraid of challenging destroyers, even though I've suffered quite a bit, and my sonar, it's not really available yet. Yeah, I don't mind. I'm going to chase that Skone, and I'm going to prevent him from capping because yeah, honestly, at any range you can punish destroyers with that thing. A broadside of 12 guns, it's not going to leave a lot of HP on a destroyer. And even after you see, Jesus Christ, those battleships, they're still punishing me. I'm playing with the press account, but you see the results of one salvo on one of these destroyers. Immediately the half of the life disappears and we keep pressing them. And yeah, even though it does shoot torpedoes, I'm able to detect them with my sonars now and will finish him pretty easily in a couple of seconds. So that's what the Mainz, it's absolutely brilliant. Chasing destroyers, and you can actually punish battleship as well, provided that you are very careful and you aim for the weak points, because it's going to be a little bit more tricky than the Schill with regard. You really have to aim for bow and stern or the superstructure once they are bow tanking to you. But yeah, I mean, you really do have the accuracy to do it. Let's be honest, the Mainz is one of the most accurate ships in the game. We've seen that a little bit earlier. The amount of the amount of shell that we're able to put on moving targets at a really long distance, absolutely really great. So yeah, I say Wargaming has done a good job of giving a good accuracy to the Schill, because otherwise he would have been completely outgunned by this thing. But yeah, let's try our luck on that Anhalt. So the first thing we do is we put ourselves in a position to be running away, and we make sure that that Anhalt has a more interesting target to look at first. So that's Zieten. So yeah, that's a good engagement, force multiplier. We're playing our game there, and we're putting consistent damage to the battleships. Sometimes we do hit those weaker parts of the armor, sometimes we only dealing half pence or 0 pence. I mean, it's part of the game, you see, that's a good example. So yeah, it's not always easy, and I feel that the Schill is a little bit more forgiving with regards to that. The 283mm guns will be a little bit more consistent against harder targets, but yeah, that doesn't mean that the Mainz is completely incapable of doing it. So yeah, if I had to compare the two ships, so for me the Mainz, it's still the number one in the category for German, and I would say heavy cruisers at the tier. The accuracy is absolutely superb, the sonar, it's absolutely great, you are absolutely deadly to destroyers and other cruisers. A little bit more tricky against battleships in certain situations, but nevertheless it's still more than manageable. You are less survivable than the Schill. So concretely, if that's an issue to you, if the Mainz, it's a lot less forgiving, and you see me barely get away with it. So yeah, concretely I will not be getting the Schill in the Blitz pass because I already have the Mainz, and I am convinced this is the better ship. That does not make the Schill a bad ship at all, it's just that it faces a lot of competition at the tier, and I would actually put it second, certainly above the Hippers and the Oigans of the world, because those are the ones that really need improvement, if I'm honest. Yeah, so there you go, Mainz 1, Schill close second, but still second for me, because the Mainz is overall the most versatile of these two ships, even though it's a little bit more tricky to be played in certain situations. I hope it was informative to you, found it useful. Let me know in the comment section down below, and then I will be seeing you next week. In the meantime, stay safe, take care, that was DFA signing out, bye bye!